Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Australia, and good morning, Israel and Europe. My name is Vera Dar-El, and I'm the Executive Director of Australian Friends of Rambam, the Australian face of the largest hospital in northern of Israel. Our objectives are to support the hospital and to educate the community about the cutting-edge technologies, new therapies, treatments that are available to patients all over the world. On behalf of the board, welcome to our first live event. Now, the COVID-19 situation has forced many of us to revisit our plans and for the next few months. And now to assist during these uncertain times, Australian Friends of Rambam will offer motivational and informative speakers once or twice a month through virtual media, which will allow participants to learn and to engage with one another, and hopefully will feel a sense of community. Now, please follow us, Australian Friends of Rambam, on Facebook and enjoy our live events. Now, I'm pleased to introduce you to Adam Snoni. Hi, Adam. Founder of the Blended Learning Group, who will be our moderator, and Dr. Avi Weissman, Deputy Director at Rambam Healthcare Campus. Hi, in Haifa.
Hello from Haifa.
Adam, it's all yours.
Thanks, Verit. Avi, shalom aleichem. Welcome to this stream, and thank you for giving your time. Firstly, I believe you're in quarantine, so I hope you're well and all your family are well around you.
Thank you very much. I'm actually in quarantine alone at home. My wife is in the other part of the house. I was exposed to a corona patient about 2 weeks ago. So this is my last day in quarantine. I drove to the test site today. I got myself tested. So tomorrow going back, there is one of two options. Either I join the management, or if I'm positive, I'm going to join in the corona department and work as a physician from inside, behind the scenes.
Okay, so Avi, tell us what Rambam is doing with treating people with corona, and there's a lot going on there. Tell us the story of Rambam's involvement.
Okay, so it all started about a month ago. We heard the rumors from China, and as being part of being prepared about preparedness, we immediately joined forces with the Ministry of Health and also internally. Since we have the underground hospital is ready for everything, it's not exactly the ideal site for a healthy corona patient because of ventilation issues, which we will deal with after. So that area is now ready for in case we get in big trouble with the many ventilated patients. Hopefully we will not get it, but it's definitely a possibility. Meanwhile, we took one of the older buildings, still occupied by departments. We took 2 floors, and we chose those floors because they're separated by air conditioning from the rest of the building. And we have built a department, like a regular hospital department for inpatients, where we set each room with negative pressure. Why negative pressure means when you open the door, the air from the outside gets sucked in and not pulled out. So the viruses from inside of the patients in there will not come out. So negative pressure rooms. Well, we gave them all the other, since half of them are, you could see the department. So you see every patient has a TV, a nice room. We try to really make it, we call it keter. Corona in English is keter, as it means a crown. So we named it. And we have 2 sides to the department. One is the clean side. See, everybody in there has to wear red. And one is the red side. You see the red line on the floor. Beyond the red line, nobody goes in. And if you're inside the department, you cannot come out. The department has all the facilities, including a gym, including a remote. You see, this is a remote control to check all your vital signs. You put it over your chest. and we get 18 parameters. Also an invention, it's called BioBeat, an Israeli startup, another Israeli startup. By the way, just for this period of the corona, I got so many phone calls with people with great ideas. You could see our chairman, Mickey. This is the food being served. So it's a regular department, only we try to minimize the people going in and out of there. We really time the people going in and out, and we treat them like every other patient. You could see Rambam Hospital in the background. Just want to mention that right now we have 19 patients, 5 in bad condition. Unfortunately, 2 are ventilated. I cross my fingers, but I'm not sure how they're going to do. They're really doing poorly. And they're getting all the treatments that we know that we can, but this is the situation now. Israel has by now 5 dead people from the coronavirus. All of them are over 70. And we are really trying to be ready for the next step. So right now we're building the second department where we could ventilate another 15 patients. And then for the Armageddon, we're preparing the underground hospital with 140 beds. Of course, we're now trying to get as much equipment that we can from all over the world. We're getting ventilators mainly, monitors, everything you could think of for equipment that we might need to build an ICU. Basically, there was this heavy, very sick ICU patients. So we really are trying to be ready for the next step, and this time to be ahead of time. We were ready for these patients. This department, I have to say, sat empty for 2 days, and we thought it's never gonna hit us, but eventually they started coming. And this is the morning greeting for the department. They have to do something because there's so much pressure working inside. We have limited the time inside per period for 2 hours, because with all the gear, when you put all the gear over you, it's very tiring to be inside. People come out of there, they're very tired, exhausted actually, and they need to rest. We're trying to do our best to change the people that work in this department. All the people working there as of now are volunteers from within the hospital. I will stop now, give you a chance to ask me questions. I could talk for hours, and please ask me and guide me to what you want to hear.
Sure. Thank you for that background, because it's important context that we understand Rambam's role in this, larger play that's happening now and changing our lives for a long time. I'll come back to that. I wanted to pick up one of the comments you made, which was that you've been getting a lot of ideas about how to treat the virus and work with people. I'm interested particularly in some of the innovative things that Rambam has introduced in the course of this process.
So basically, the few things that, number one, we got a lot of remote capabilities of monitoring patients. One is telecommunication. So we could see all the patients and monitor them, and they have an option for the healthy rooms to choose to let us see them or not let us see them. So video conferencing with video, and that is something that has been around, and we have adopted it. I mean, it has never been used in the medical field. As far as you saw the BioBeat, that's that sticker you stick in the middle of your chest, and it traces all your vital signs, including cardiac output. We're not even 100% sure whether they got FDA approval, by the way, and EA approval, but we weren't exactly sure because we haven't tested it, and most of the testing were done on pigs. So we tried it, and we actually helped them develop it now and improve it to see where it works better or worse. You have to shave the skin, the hair of your skin, and a few things that we work with the companies. A few other things. We clean with a unique system. I got calls from about 10 or 15 companies that know how to clean up after disasters. Like mostly use UV light and Meanwhile, we're using peroxide, the same peroxide you buy in the supermarket, 3%. Some company, actually an American company, have a 7.5% peroxide. They run it through electricity and it becomes a hydroxyl that practically kills everything. And that has been proven. They also got FDA approval. So every room in the emergency room that we have a suspected coronavirus, before they have the results, after the patient leaves, we clean the room with that device. The other thing I'm sure you guys saw is the pooling system for the testing. One of the Technion investigators, researchers, who's actually married to one of our employees, Dr. Kishoni. So he invited together with the viral for microbiology department in our hospital. What they did is, so the issue about testing is, you see, there's all of those issues about being tested. How many people can you test a day? So the testing today is done via PCR system. So some type of system that you cut the genetic, you cut you cut pieces, and if it matches the virus, it lights up, and we know this patient is positive. I don't want to go into the PCR system, but the idea is that every test is done per patient, per a lab worker. So obviously it consumes a lot of time. So what we did is, I didn't do it, but they did, the researchers did, is he took one sample positive, mixed it with a second one that is negative, and he tested it with the same system, and we saw it still was positive. Then he continued to dilute it, and we put 64 samples together in one sample and tested it as one test. If it is and then even one positive test inside 64 tests, it still lit up and it was positive. So then we could go back and trace only those 64. So the idea is, for the future, for mass testing, you could test thousands of people, run them in groups of hundreds and hundreds, and everybody that's negative, you have enough confidence that you can no longer need to test them individually. And so you could do 100 times more exams per same time that we do it today. I hope I made myself clear. It's a little bit difficult, but the idea is to do a lot of testing for a fraction of the time.
That's a fantastic innovation, and of course it clears away all the negatives in groups so that you can focus in on the positives, which will save a lot of resources. Thank you for that, Dr. Weissman. One of the things, of course, Rambam is famous for is, and you mentioned it, is the underground facility. If I read it properly, of course, you built that for, God forbid, a trauma situation if war broke out in the north and all those rockets came over and there was a serious civilian casualty. Tell us about how you're going to use that now for the COVID response.
So basically what we did, you see the ambulance that you saw a second ago actually goes down to the underground hospital. And in the background, you see that's the underground hospital. That is us prepared for a chemical warfare. So basically we have 3-level underground parking, a regular garage, actually built as a hospital, converted to a garage. And we can convert this place to become a 2,000-bed hospital within 72 hours. Right now, what we're doing, we're preparing it to ventilate simultaneously 150 patients, and we'll be ready with it by the end of this week. I have to admit to it, we don't have all the ventilators yet and not all the beds yet, and we're missing, but we're logistically preparing the place. Every bay for 3 cars can hold 8 patients. The flight above this floor is going to be the place where the house staff is going to stay, sleep, and rest. And this facility has everything in the walls that we could fit ICU patients with the highest level of medical care. It's a unique place. I think it's the only place in the world. If I may be mistaken, I think Singapore came to us, and they are now either a building or finished building a facility that is similar. I don't know why they need it, but I guess they're expecting some kind of war in Singapore, which I'm not aware of. But the funny thing is, we prepared for conventional war, for chemical war. We get drilled by the government twice a year for those potential disasters. And we never thought that a small coronavirus is gonna take everybody, the whole world out of shape, bend the whole world out of shape. But yes, we found a new use for it, and hopefully we will not use it. It will be a true testing of our facility. And we just now see that what we lack a lot of beds, we lack a lot of equipment for that area, but we're gonna get it slowly and safely. We're gonna get everything, and maybe for the next time, we'll be more prepared. I mean, we are prepared, but we'll be more prepared for the next time, as we'll be able to purchase all the equipment needed to get this place running.
Well, this virus is going to be around for quite a while, and you'll go through summer and prepare for your next winter, and we're just going through our first winter with it too. And I wanted to ask you about some of the things that we need to prepare for as we enter more and more lockdown. But just quickly before I do, I know Haifa, I have cousins there. It's just such a beautiful city. And one, of course, of its greatest virtues is its mixed Jewish-Arab population. Very quickly, at Rambam, what are you seeing in terms of both populations, the spread of corona? Are we seeing it different because of cultural or tribal issues? Or are we just seeing it doesn't matter who you are and where you are, it's just a matter of transmission? Are you seeing any differences between the Jewish and Arab populations of Haifa on this?
Great. So I will divide my answer into two. I'm so glad you asked me. Number one, on a regular basis, 30% of our employees are Arabs, all levels, head of department, management, head of nursing, regular physicians, regular nurses, help, everything, all positions in the hospital are held and kept by Arabs. Number two, with the Corona department, we all have masks over us and we wear gowns. You don't know who is who. I can tell you, you do not recognize, but under the masks, same 30%, 40% of the employees, same Arabs, same people. And it's really impressive. We, by the way, send to the television every day. We have a representative representing hospital. The chief, this head of the department that we named is a Druze physician. She is the head of the infectious disease control in hospital. She volunteered, of course, to head this department. And they're being on national TV, not as Arabs, as Rambam employees, as regular Rambam employees, regular citizens. With regard to the population, we just got yesterday the first 2 Arabs from the Arab villages. As you know, northern Israel has the highest density of Arab population, and we get most of the very, very sick patients, regardless of corona, no corona. So they all come to us and they trust us. As of now, I see no difference in the attitude towards the disease. I know there's a lot of propaganda by the government. I see it on TV. Since we don't travel now a lot, I don't see what's happening in the villages, but we are really, really trying to encourage different behavior within the village. No meetings, no big family meetings, isolation, segregation, and hopefully that will prevent it from spreading in the Arab villages, because if that happens, with the density over there, we're gonna see a new peak that we haven't seen yet. So I can tell you, coronavirus may kill a lot of people, but it may be responsible for world peace.
We can only pray, and of course, a virus and any bug makes no distinction in its host from whatever country or wherever they're from. So thank you for that, and it's good to hear that you're going to be working with the local villages to shut things down. And I wanted to ask a specific question around that. We're moving into lockdown in Australia. Our borders are now sealed. We actually had the first direct Tel Aviv Perth El Al flight land yesterday and is going back on Wednesday with the last Israelis. And I have to say I'm a little upset because I was booked on the Melbourne Tel Aviv flight to come for Pesach, but we'll come and visit another time. We're now moving more and more into isolation. The government is forcibly changing our behaviour as people take time to come to grips with it. Avi, you've been in isolation already now for a couple of weeks. Tell us what that's like to be really isolated, because we're going to be there for a long time. And I really want to focus in on what we should be thinking about. I want to hear from you also signs of distress that we should be aware of. Not everybody is going to handle this well. What are your insights into sharing with us from what you and Israel is already doing in this space around really about mental preparedness?
Okay. So again, this country is very, very good in difficult times. We unite and unify. So a few things that I see nationwide are happening. First of all, the media is very, very important. The news, however, on the other side, it could be increase, the people's anxiety. So we recommend a lot of social meeting. This Zoom meeting that we're having, every family in Israel have morning and evening sessions that all the family gets together, not around the table, but around around their cameras, and we talk to each other on Zoom. So that keeps everybody, and we see what everybody does because everybody's locked down. So we are together. We're having virtual dinners together. We're having virtual Shabbat candle lighting together. So we're doing all these things like we used to do via the camera. So one of my suggestions is to make sure that people who don't have access and are not as savvy with mechanical things, to go ahead now and prepare them with a handheld, a small camera on the computer, somebody to guide them right now how to get on something. It doesn't matter which program. There's so many programs out there, but that would be something, at least for the older people who don't know how to do it. Young people can do it in a second, but older people would be a good suggestion to have them part of it. I'm going to get a battery for this 1 second. I guess I'm not very prepared. Number two is have the social programs ready to deliver food to the doorsteps of the older people.
If I can say, we're already doing that here. There's a lot of Jewish and general community support in those areas. I wanted to focus in more personally around things that are making it easier for you as an individual in a very, very isolated area, how you're coping. What are the tips and techniques you can share with us as we move into that space?
So basically my suggestion, because it works for me, is have a schedule. Every day have a schedule. Make a point of getting out of bed, get dressed. Don't stay in your pajama, get dressed as if you're going to work, you're going somewhere. You don't have to put regular shoes, but put something over your feet so you feel it, you could walk around the house and do things. So schedule yourself and try to schedule a little bit of exercise to the level that you can during the day. Then it's a good time to catch up with reading all the books you always planned on reading and you never had a chance before. And I know for me, I felt guilty every time I read a book because I wasn't doing something for the hospital. So I felt a little bit less guilty now because it kept me sane. So if you're a reader, it's a good time to catch up on that.
Good.
The media, as I mentioned before, could go both ways, because the media, you see, they love the headlines, and it could get people in a lot of trouble following that. So I would say limit your TV to whatever. You choose one news show, and just follow that, because they keep on going and going, and you feel like it's the end of the world. It's actually not. We're taking measures so it doesn't progress. I mean, most of the people, if you look at the numbers, they're not tremendous. They're very fast growing, but I mean, in an overall scale of an infectious disease, it's not like it's something we cannot, it could potentially go there. And that's something we need to discuss. We need to stress to people that if we follow the rules, the more we follow the rules, the shorter it's going to be for us in this isolation. Number 3, it's a good time to keep in touch with the old friends you haven't had the chance, because whatever, you haven't had the chance. So even the people you never called, and then you didn't call them because you forgot to call them. So that's a good time to do it. Everybody is happy to get a phone call from somebody they haven't heard from. The community plays a big part in it. And I would suggest in the local communities to have programs like we are having now, that people could talk, for other people to hear them, and they could hear other people's idea about what they're doing. I guess basically that's it. And also, don't stay up late. Keep your schedule. Go to sleep at a regular time that you usually go. Otherwise, day becomes night, night becomes day. You're losing it. It's like a jet lag becomes all of a sudden. So keep your daily schedule.
So let me just summarize what you've told us. Have virtual dinners. Zoom in with your family and do it regularly. And I love that idea of virtual dinners, which is what I'll do with my family now. You talked also about a daily schedule. Get up at the right time, go to bed at the right time. You know, when you lose day and night, that is, I know that plays with your mind a lot. Make exercise, do your reading, and get in touch with people, because community is important. Let me add a 4th one. My son, who's we brought back from Yeshiva in Israel, is now in quarantine. We have made it our mission to go through all 28 James Bond films. So I recommend that when you're tired of reading and you've had your exercise, to flock together for 2 hours seeing all of the James Bonds. It's a great opportunity. So there's your fourth on your list.
This is great. I love it.
Last thing, because I know we're running out of time. What are the signs that we can be self-aware of that tell us we're moving into a negative space and a bit of distress, that will help us sort of bring ourselves back into a better place? What are some of the things that we need to look for?
So I guess some people that cannot cope very well with the situation, if you see somebody like this over the camera, you could usually see signs of not being shaved, answering not properly, signs of tiredness, falling asleep while talking to you, losing weight. If that takes a long time, like ask them, what did you eat? Oh, I'm like not scheduled meals. So signs of not disruptive, but irregular behavior that you might expect from a person. Those are signs. Usually, those are signs of distress, heavy distress, and it's very difficult. You know, people behave in different ways during the stress, but most people get enclosed. They reach out less. They don't answer their phones. They don't make contact. This is the right time to go in and sometimes put them in a place where somebody could watch them. That's mostly for the older people. And for the younger people also, it's a good time to reach out and try to encourage them and guide them through acting and being positive in their actions and do. Sometimes it's difficult and they need to get help. I can tell you that, you know, we let a few of the people we didn't need, we put them on leave, but all the psychology department in our hospital are working night and day with the teams. You might think, I mean, we show you videos of everybody so happy working, and it's not, it's affecting everybody. And we have a lot of sessions with our own teams, helping them through the process with the psychologist. So it's a good time to bring in your social workers and your psychologists. Actually, even if they themselves have a problem, by giving them work, something to do, it helps them. And by them helping others, it helps the other people as well. And they know the right things to do. So get the community, whoever get involved, get them in and involved in it. The more people, the merrier.
Very good, very good advice. So seeing people's behaviours change is an indicator that things are not right. And people, it's all about bringing people in virtually, if not face-to-face anymore, to help people in the situation they may find themselves in. Thank you for that. Vera, do we have time, or I think we're...
I see people waving and people joining, but say hi. Maybe we can ask them if they would like to ask anything, any comments, any questions to Dr. Weissman, to you. This is the time.
Okay.
So we're going to see.
Let's open to questions. Does someone have a question they'd like to ask Avi?
I can learn to understand you much better if I can get familiar with the way you talk. I need your permission to help.
Yeah, tell them we can hear them.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Just a minute. I'm checking if there are any questions. It looks like everybody are happy from what I see from those that join us. Okay. So in this occasion, I would like to thank you, Adam Slonim, and thank you, Dr. Weissman, for joining us and for this interesting and informative discussion. And on behalf of the Australian Friends of Rambam, I'm asking you, please support the new Keter department, the Crown department, and save lives. And thank you. And when are you back to Rambam, Avi? Dr.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
One way or the other. One way or the other.
Yeah. So did you manage to read all of those books?
I think it's important that we speak to you in a few weeks again to get an update. Israel will be further along. We'll be in the middle. We're talking about peaking in Australia in June. So we have a way to go, which means even if you peak, you have to come out the other side. This is winter for us. So I think if you're spending the next few weeks, let's talk again in 3 or 4 weeks, get your sense of what's happening, and we'll share what's happening our side, and let's do this again. And Vered will open it up to a larger session with Q&A when we get the technology working.
Now that's it. We have it. We have it.
We have it down.
We have a question. First of all, we have people from India saying thanks and good job from India. Now, Alex is asking, what will happen to the department after? Dr. Weiss.
So it will, okay, so it was a regular department. Actually, it was the ophthalmology and vascular surgery department. And so we're going to convert it back to a regular department. We don't have too much extra room in the country in general, and particularly in Rambam, it's a small facility. So we really need every bed. So it's going to be converted back to a hospital. This is how it's going to be. On a national level, I'm sure there are going to be plans how to be prepared, maybe a national system, or each hospital is going to have to build their own facility. We're going to do a lot of rethinking after this.
Any other questions, Vered?
Hang on. Thank you very much. It was an informative and positive session. Okay, guys, this is your last chance to ask more questions when we're still live streaming. So we just wait another few seconds to see if anybody is typing.
Avi, what's the most important takeaway message as we wrap up now? The single most
Absolutely.
important message.
So I would say one thing: you look outside your window in Israel. In a war, you know it's a war. You hear bombs, you hear something. You look outside the window now, you see nothing. Everything looks the same, but it's coming. So please follow the orders. The rest of the world now knows that simple thing of staying home can help it. So everybody is a soldier in fighting this war, and it's a very, very easy task to fulfill. Simple and very, very important. So everybody's participation, as we say here, Kol Israel Chaverim.
Absolutely.
We are all community here or in every country, looking after ourselves and one another. And we will all do our bit. Thank you very much, Avi. We'll speak again in a few weeks' time.
Thank you. It was really my pleasure. I wish you all health.
Thanks again. And we'll see you in a few weeks. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Dr. Weissman.
Bye-bye.
Namaste. Bye. See you.
Namaste.